Well, this week, a lot of stuff happened.
Yeah, it was a productive week.
Second week of Devil's Advocate.
Yep.
First week of Donald Trump's presidency. And if next week is anything like this week, my head's gonna explode. So, lots of stuff happened. Executive orders out.
Lots of executive orders. Yep.
But I guess the one that everybody's talking about, everybody's thinking about right now, is the ban that we put on travel and immigration
countries.
from 7 Muslim countries. So, what do you think?
Well, I think that just preliminary thoughts. I know it's getting a lot of hate right now from all the news outlets and all of that. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, let's be honest. This is what he said he was going to do. This shouldn't have surprised anyone. He said extreme vetting from these countries. I think that he went about doing it in probably not the best way, which is my big problem with it. It's not that he did it. It's that no one really had a chance to get things in order. So people who are, in these other countries are just like, oh, well, shit, I guess I can't come back home. Probably wanted to give them a couple weeks, similar to what Obama did with Russian spies, as he put it. They were just, and give them 3 weeks to pack up and
Do you
leave.
think that it's justified, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's definitely justified.
Why?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, we're looking at the countries. First off, this isn't the first time this has happened. So in 2011, Obama did the exact same thing. And it was from Iraq. They basically said, hey, you know what, for 6 months. A little background to the story is what happened is they found these guys that had come over during this program, and they were basically setting up a plot to trade arms and help people out in Iraq to fight American troops. They found out about it, so as a precaution, they said, okay, for the next 6 months, there is no more immigrating from Iraq. And very similarly, guess who got caught up? There was a journalist who was actually doing help for the U.S. Army who was not able to come back, and he ended up being assassinated before that time was over. So we've done it before, and all of these countries, that these 7 are on the list, they're saying these are people we need to watch, and that's what they based it off of.
You know that of those 7 countries, though, there are other Muslim majority countries, right? We already know the list. Saudi Arabia.
Well, obviously Saudi Arabia wasn't on this one, and I think there's
United Arab Emirates.
That's money. The money kept them off that list.
Right. Interestingly enough, Donald Trump and his administration have business ties with the 4 countries not on that list, and
I think you'll have a hard time finding people who don't have business ties to these countries.
And those 4 countries not on the list, have caused more American deaths since 9/11 than the 7 countries that are on the list.
Yeah, I definitely have a problem with that. So like I said, I don't have a problem with the 7 that they chose. I think those make sense.
I think we don't have a problem with refugees coming to this country.
Well, we could have. The whole point was that
we don't. First of all, we don't have a ban list right now.
Right.
Well, we still don't. But we don't have a ban list right now. Up until this week, we hadn't had it. We hadn't had these countries put on notice. They weren't. Everybody was allowed to travel.
They kind of should have known. Like I said, he said he was going to do this.
Why?
For
We don't have a problem.
With what?
With extreme jihadism in America.
Well, here's the thing. There is a problem in the world right now. Just because we don't have, per se, the largest amount of incidents, guess who does? We have France we have Germany who's seen attacks, and they're cracking down on it.
Since September 11th, the United States has brought in 784,000 refugees. Mm-hmm. In that same amount of time, 3 of them have been found to have ties to terrorism. So, or another way to say that is 0.00038% of refugees have ties to terrorism in the United States since 9/11.
And those numbers probably make you feel good, but how long has ISIS been around? Not that long.
Since 2002.
Not in the capacity that they are right now. They have not been operating.
But they're also not in the capacity that they are today. They're not what they were in 2012.
Well, obviously.
Okay,
so they're obviously
trending
working on
the
trying
right
to get
way.
It. And luckily, we've been able to
keep
a lot of
We're not stopping anything.
Out.
We're making Republicans are making themselves feel good by putting up walls. There's
No,
no
I don't think
reason
so.
for it. We don't have a problem.
there is.
The San Bernardino shooter, the Fort Hood shooter, the
Well,
Orlando
first off, San
shooter.
Bernardino, that's exactly what happened. Where do you go to? Yemen or whatever? And then his
Except
girlfriend came back. And
for all three of those shooters were Americans.
Yeah.
So we don't have we don't have a problem with refugees coming into this
travel
country.
ban. Guess what they did? They went over there and then they got trained by these sting cells operators, and then they came back and did their plan. That's exactly what they did.
So in 15 years, we've had 3 terrorists that are tied, or 3 refugees tied to terrorism, and in the last 5 years, 250 Americans have left America to join ISIS in Syria. I don't know that we're putting the walls up in the right way.
Well, first off, the wall isn't supposed to be about the refugee issue, so that's
metaphoric
not
wall.
metaphor. Yeah. But that's a totally different issue. And like I said, those numbers make you sound great. If I go, 2,000 years ago, there was no ISIS attacks. It's going to make you feel good at those numbers. But they're obviously doctored. ISIS is a threat now. And regardless of what people want to think, I think that dumb people don't learn from their mistakes. Average people do learn from their mistakes, but smart people learn from other people's mistakes. And right now, if you look at Europe, we've tried this. We tried doing the mass, bringing in all the refugees, and now they see all the attacks that are happening.
And first of all, would it even
Why
make
would it work more in the United States?
Why would ISIS wait for 3 years through a refugee program to come into the United States when they could get a radicalized American or radicalized European to come blow us up?
Well, they're obviously trying to do that
way
as well.
easier.
They're trying to inspire attacks, lone wolf attacks.
What makes Republicans feel good is going back to the way things were, and that's what this is a measure.
I don't think
to
it's
do.
ever been the way things were. I mean, we're trying to protect
that's what they're
ourselves and our
trying.
countries.
That's the goal, and for
What?
the Republican
Is
Party.
that a racist swipe?
Huh?
Is
No,
that a
it's
racism
not.
swipe?
It's
That's what it sounded
a
like.
it's an era swipe, right? We want to go back to the good old days. It is the essence of conservatism, and this isn't a necessary step. It's
Well, we
not.
haven't had a problem in the past, but now we're seeing attacks on the rise. And when you look at the 9/11 attacks, they did.
We
stay
are
there.
not seeing.
We are seeing attacks on the rise. I don't know if you've noticed, but there have been attacks more last year than they were the year before.
In
and
the
more than
United
the year
States.
before. Yes, in the United States.
By Americans.
Yeah, but they have ties to these countries. They go there, they get trained,
Right.
and then
Well,
they come
until
back.
you shut down the internet, which Donald Trump may do.
That doesn't train you. You don't click a video and now I know how to be an effective jihadist.
No,
they
but
go to Yemen, they go to these other places and train for the next year, and then they come back. And when they get vetted, they say, I was visiting family. And we go, oh, that sounds legit. And we let them come back in, and then we see an attack.
Right, but you can't. But putting up a ban on Muslim immigration doesn't stop
Let's be
that
honest,
guy
it's not actually a
that's
Muslim
sitting in
ban.
San Bernardino, California, and leaves to go from Yemen. That doesn't stop him from doing that.
If he gets vetted, once he comes back, it's people coming in. It's the travel ban. It's not a Muslim ban. It's a travel ban. And whenever they come in from those countries, we say, what were you doing there? And a little bit more than I was just seeing family. They need to be checked out because this has happened. And not only has this happened in the United States, this is happening in Europe at a much higher rate. And I don't want us to become that. It's easy to sit there and say, well, we're not getting attacked, so I don't see the point. We're not supposed to be getting attacked. That's the point. We're supposed to stop attacks. Right now in the world, there are people getting attacked.
Right, but we're not getting attacked without.
So let's just let them attack us and then we'll fix it like Europe did? That makes
no
no sense.
But that's predicting an inevitable war that will always come sometimes.
Well, do you think we're at war right now?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Think that we're at
and
war
would you
right now.
agree with me that it's a guerrilla war? Like, it's a guerrilla style warfare.
Yeah.
They're not going to line up for us like the British did back in the old days.
No,
they're going
I
to
don't
fight
think
with
so.
these secretive tactics where we do have to take preemptive strikes on it. And like I said, if there weren't attacks happening right now in the world, we wouldn't be doing this. But there are.
I will not.
ISIS isn't defeated yet.
ISIS isn't defeated, and even though ISIS may someday become weaker, that extremism isn't going to ever be defeated. I won't disagree with you on that.
I think it will. I think that if you cut off the head of the snake, if you snuff out their leaders, now obviously we got that one leader. I can't remember what his name was, Al-Awlaki, I think, and he's been dead for a while, and he's still a big inspiration for a lot of these attacks because his videos persist on the internet. I get that,
right?
But we need to.
So you're never gonna stop.
You got to cut out their organization, and then it will crumble. Eventually, it will crumble if you continue to cut off the heads of the snakes.
But I agree with you. But that is done in
military.
It's done in faraway lands. It's not done here. It doesn't.
We don't want it to be done here. That's why we're
right. I get it, but this doesn't seem like a necessary step at all. This seems like an overstep, and it's not the same because you can easily in a second when you decide to pull up Jimmy Carter. Like I'm not going to pretend like Jimmy Carter didn't do a similar thing.
I'm not growing peanuts
with the Iranians, but. This is on a much bigger scale, and
because we're seeing a much bigger movement. These guys are well funded
at the time
and they have social media that they're doing. It's not the same thing. This is a more covert war that we're fighting, and for some reason, liberals won't even admit that we're fighting a war. They just think that in Sunshine Land, if you don't admit to a war, no one tries to kill you.
We're definitely fighting a war, and we've done it the wrong ways because Obama did not handle foreign policy well. I won't disagree with you there. Right. What I do think is that this is a way to make Republicans feel warm and fuzzy. Oh, don't worry. Our white picket fences just went back up, and it's not necessary. It's not going to stop anything from happening. The internet will still exist. Radicalization will still exist, and all this does is bolster more anti-American sentiment.
I actually hate that argument, and I'll tell you why. This is the one that I hear this argument more often than not, and for the life of me, I can't understand it. They think that by us saying that we want to protect ourselves, we might offend someone else so much that they're going to decide to go join a terrorist organization and kill innocent people. I say, fuck that guy. Let him join up. Be in the same room, so when we fucking bomb you, you die. And I don't have to deal with you anymore. Get as many of them in the same room as we can. Because if you get so mad by a country saying, we're going to try some measures to defend ourselves, that you decide to kill innocent people, I don't give a fuck about you.
Okay,
you're a lost cause.
If you can okay, that's fine. But if that becomes an entire region of the world, you now have a problem that you have to think about from all different sides. So
then we have to defend ourselves.
Right, or we could just not start. We could just not
it's
stir
already
the
happened,
pot.
Man. What? You don't want to start the war? The war's already here.
Yeah. No, I get the war against. No one in ISIS is sitting for 3 years to get here to do their
Al
thing.
Qaeda did it. They were here, 2 years, learning how to fly planes? I mean, they have these long operations that they go into it. Now, obviously, they like to do the lone wolf operation where they don't even have to do anything.
Right.
Just these dudes that come in and attack. I think that people need to realize.
So you don't think then, just to stay on that lone wolf topic for a second. So you don't think then, as far as your
kick my mic, damn it,
oh, I did too. Your anti-American.
I'm drinking Boston Lager beer. I can't be
anti-American sentiment. That's not a fair argument for you. Doesn't anti-American sentiment kind of bolster up that kid in New Jersey who's already pissed off at America, and now his real family, or he can't get back to his family, or whatever he wants to do? Like, we don't live that life. We don't know what it's like to have to travel across the world.
To want to join a terrorist organization? No, I don't.
Okay, no, But I think you can radicalize somebody that wasn't there, like somebody that wasn't at that step. Kid that's not going to just join ISIS if he feels like he's getting crapped on over and over and over again. And now the 1 week old president of the United States just gave his entire family and world the middle finger. You think that pushes you a little bit closer, and then doesn't anti-American sentiment kind of make a difference?
Here's the thing: I don't think that it was Donald Trump who gave him the middle finger. I think it's the news media and the Democrats who have conflated protecting America and keeping it into he hates you. And they're telling him that we don't listen. I'm speaking as a Republican. I don't hate Muslims. I don't hate anyone like that. But for some reason, the left likes to say that we do, just because we say we want to have these measures that help keep us safe. And it's only for a short period of time until they can get handled, make better vetting rules. It makes sense. Like I said, we've done it before under Obama, and it for 6 months from Iraq. It was this exact same situation. So I don't get it. And then
what
all
is
the media?
I know because you say 6 months, and so now I've got a question for you because I didn't know.
What made you think I'd know the answer?
Last night, as I was clicking around and researching stuff, there were multiple reports. One was that it was a 90-day. Is it a 90-day travel ban, or
I heard something like that.
I saw 90 days and I saw 120 days. And
yeah, the 4 months.
Yeah, so
I couldn't remember exactly what it is. We could probably pull it up here, but
that may just be the media doing their thing.
No, I read it in the actual executive order. I'd have to go back.
Are there two different points to it?
Yeah, there's a couple. Like one was obviously the refugee ban, saying that like for this amount of time we're not taking in new refugees, and that's different from travel ban. These are people who we're not admitting them and giving them legal status here, which again I think is the right move. In all of Europe is under an immense burden from these refugees, which if we would have had my way, we would have gone into Syria, created a safe zone in there, and then they wouldn't have even had to leave their own country. They don't want to leave their country.
No, I agree with you.
They would rather stay there. So I don't think bringing them here is the right decision either, though.
Yeah.
We need to just put boots on the ground. We need to bring our military in and
all I know
shut the
is
situation
with the
down.
almost million refugees that we've taken in 15 years, we haven't had a problem. So for me, it's hard to say, well, let's be preventative. Well, okay, like I'm
bringing up those oceans again. Those oceans protect us.
Yeah, those oceans do protect us.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to...
So I guess, it was what, only 60, 70 people who died from terrorist attacks last year? I mean, we don't need to protect against that. I mean, we're basically not getting attacked.
No, we did. But what's interesting, too, about that 60 or 70... killed last year, that's also the same number for like 15 years. So we don't have a problem. Yeah, we had some incidents last year. That's true. Yeah. We also had 26 Americans since 9/11 have been killed by Muslim jihadists. That was before the Orlando shooting.
Well, obviously.
Right? 50 have died at the hands of white supremacists and anti-governmental fundamentalists. The numbers are identical. So there are extremists on both sides, on all sides. They're not a huge problem.
But that's not the issue we're talking about. We're talking about ISIS. ISIS hasn't been around that long, at least not in the capacity of which we're seeing them right now.
I mean, it's been around for almost an entire presidency.
Yeah, I get that. Well, yeah, we saw them get bolstered up. But when you pull back
and even bolstered up from didn't have an issue here.
When we bring in numbers from 2001, it's like, well, guess what? They weren't around. So yeah, it didn't look like it. And again, we're trying to be the smart country. The smart country learns from other people's mistakes. We are seeing this in Europe. If you're not paying attention to Europe, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's happening. All of this is going on. We don't want that to happen in our country. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, I don't disagree that we don't want it to happen. But I would say the good news for Republicans is it's not. So, that's a good thing. We can agree. Now, so what do you think about the court in Brooklyn that stopped this from all happening? Because
I want to
newsflash, if you didn't know, that didn't go through. That was supposed to go through.
They put like a stop order on it.
They put a stop. Federal court issued an emergency stay halting Trump's executive order banning immigrants from majority Muslim countries from entering. This was reported on Saturday night.
See, that's their wording. In the executive order, it doesn't say, if you're Muslim, you can't come in. But then they conflate that and they enter it into their own stop order to make it seem as though it is a purely racist move. And I have an issue with that. I don't like that. And not to say that the left and the right both don't do it. I'm just saying in this particular example, it irritates me.
That's fair. It is factual that they are majority Muslim countries.
Right. America's a majority white country. We're all white, I guess.
The court ruled a habeas corpus petition filed by the ACLU on behalf of 2 Iraqi men who were detained at JFK International Airport on Friday. They were there for,
15 hours? Well, they're still held there right now.
Are they?
The one got out, a journalist. That was why I brought up that example, is because this guy is a journalist who is, not a journalist, an interpreter, who apparently was helping the military, and then he got detained. There's people that apparently... They're like, he's had 2 assassination attempts. He needs to come through. This exact thing happened under Obama, and the guy died because of it. And, no one cares. but this one, it's Trump, he's evil. Oh!
No, I don't.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm not familiar with the Obama story, so I can't. I'm not going to comment too much on it because I'll just dig myself a hole. And so instead of doing that.
I'll tell you what, I'll do you a little favor here. I got it already pulled up here. because it is important to have this juxtaposition to what we're dealing with now, because quite literally it is the exact same thing. So, well, maybe I'm not going to find it. I'll put a link in the description and all that, because, yeah, it's definitely...
So I don't think we'll... I mean, I think at the end of the day that liberals and conservatives are probably going to not come too close on this one, on the immigration thing. I do think that you have some valid points. I don't think that... I don't think that there should be zero vetting.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what extreme vetting is, because
all I'm saying is...
It sounds like the X Games, extreme vetting. Oh. So
all I'm saying is if we actually did extreme vetting this time around and it took 15 fucking hours, that's pretty damn quick. I understand that it's an inconvenience, but to figure out if you're a threat to our country or not, and it only takes us 15 hours, I'd say that's pretty expedited.
Extreme.
All right, I do have it pulled up here. So this is from ABC News. It says, as a result of that Kentucky case where they found the people who were trying to bring weapons over, provide weapons for Al-Qaeda to fight us. Let's see here. The State Department stopped processing Iraqi refugees for 6 months in 2011. Federal officials told ABC News, even for those who had heroically helped U.S. forces as interpreters and intelligence assets, one Iraqi who had aided American troops was assassinated before his refugee application could be processed because of the immigration delays. In 2011, fewer than 10,000 Iraqis were resettled as refugees in the U.S., half the number the year before. So we've seen it happen before. And no one said a word. No one cared. And it probably had to do with because...
Swag?
No, because Obama didn't let people know all those things. And Trump is one of those, like, I'm just going to tell you every single thing I'm doing. And I'm an open book in that case.
Well, welcome to politics, Donald Trump.
Right. And the media has never wanted to destroy anyone more than, whatever, Bannon.
Yeah, right.
Just shut up.
Everybody. No, we'll save that for the YouTube. Yeah.
I guess... I don't know. When it comes to it, I understand why we're doing it. I think he went around doing it the wrong way. He should have given people a little more time. Although, like I said,
at the same time... Are you anti-protester on this one?
I'm a little irritated by the protesters just because it seems like liberals they're just really enjoying protesting and gathering in these places now.
I won't disagree.
Like, you don't know who these guys are. They could be fucking terrorists, and you're like, fucking free them, just do it.
No,
you probably need to do our jobs.
I do agree with you. Just do it. I don't have a problem with this protest, but I will say that in general, liberals, listen to your brother. Like, stop it.
You stop.
Like, okay, so the first big protest, and I'm getting on a short tangent here. We'll keep it short. Yeah. But the first protest was what? Like, the first big protest in recent history, past 5 years, Ferguson. Ferguson really blew stuff up, and then it turned into Baltimore.
The riots and everything else.
And I'm not even saying that there shouldn't be protests over police brutality, but what I am saying is that when that turns into every single Tuesday and Saturday, and...
Right. At this point,
we're losing the fight on that one, guys. So,
like, as a Republican for the past 8 years, I've hated my own party. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've posted, like, it's really hard being a Republican these days.
Yep.
It's going to be even harder being a Democrat, because not only are they doing the exact same opposition bullshit, they are tripling down on it. Like, they are just Trump could come out and be like, I love Caesar salads. I've had a great Caesar salad. Free the salad!
Free the salad!
10,000 march. Let's go. It's just like, guys, give it a fucking rest.
Anchovies died to make that dressing, dude.
Right. They're extinct now. Yeah, so they need to give it and they have a right to. So I have no right to say that they need to give it a rest.
No, I get it.
I'll
but
catch myself there.
I do agree. I think that whenever any side, I won't apply it to liberals. I think liberals now it's becoming very common in the last few years. But I think that like anybody, even the Tea Party when they started in 10, like anybody that just goes out twice a week to protest, like. You don't even really believe it. Like, you have to schedule this stuff, and, like, you have to know when...
I hate everything!
What do I hate today?
It's not the end of the world, guys.
So, hyper-protesters, just knock it off. Tone it back. Let's bring it down to, like, once or twice a month.
Right.
So...
I get why they're doing it this time around. Like, I understand that the media is going out of their way to make it into a racist thing. I turned on the news. I made the mistake of turning on Fareed Zakaria Jesus, man. Like, that was a mistake. Of
Yeah,
course, there was another angry liberal on there just screaming, everyone calling everyone racist. It's like, we're not racist, man. Give 5 seconds and listen to our
I'm going to
things.
probably say this on a weekly basis, but anybody that's on some type of outlet and you're screaming your points, nobody's listening. It doesn't matter what side you're on. If you're liberal or conservative, just knock it off.
It's just a little frustrating, too, just because right before the election, they were like, I bet if the Republicans don't win, they're just going to protest and be upset and not be good sports. Protest everything.
Yeah, I mean, that is what Republicans did for 8 years under Obama.
They protested inside of the government. They didn't actually march down the street. You didn't see Republicans.
I'm pretty sure that no liberals dressed up like Ben Franklin, so I'm just saying, those guys
Party.
were out there.
The Tea Party was a plague on the Republican Party. I mean, they kind of
Glenn Beck's Unity concert or
even
whatever
those guys
the hell.
hate Donald Trump now. So, and like I said, I think that I was on Facebook today, and I saw one of my buddies, and he was all upset about it. But there was over 100 comments on this thing, and most of them, there were some that were doing just yelling at people and calling them racist and whatnot. But a lot of them were trying to argue about why we're for this. You turn on the news and it's 100% negative against Trump. And that's what we're saying too. And I have a little bit of a problem with Trump going so overboard with it, where we're on the media and there's all that, but they are fucking dishonest.
Coining fake news. Fake news is like the biggest joke in the world. First of all, for any of you that don't know, fake news has existed forever. We always called it BS back in the day. Like now,
we called it Fox News.
That Donald Trump has coined a phrase. Like now, anything.
Now, to be fair, it was being used against him, and then he just picked it up and was like, "Oh, look, they're using fake news."
On both sides now. Anytime you hear an argument that doesn't agree exactly with what you think, you deem it fake news. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
That is not the reality. People should be able to disagree and come back to the table. And now it just fake news. We won't get off on fake news, but we will have to sometime readdress it because I have a lot to say about fake news. I don't think it's good. I do think though that in keeping with executive orders and immigration, he did have a meeting with Mexico this week. Well, it was a phone call, not exactly a meeting. But that came after an executive order that he issued on immigration. So
basically with the executive order, I mean, the main thing is most certainly the wall. He's making good on the promise. They are going to be building a wall. In the executive order, they say the reason to build the wall is to stop drug and human trafficking, illegal immigration, and acts of terrorism. I mean, you could maybe say the cartel is acts of terrorism, but I don't really know what they're saying with that. I don't really know what
that is. Although it all sounds good, and I don't know who's going to disagree with you and be like, we want those things. Those are fine. Don't worry about it, guys.
And one thing that I thought was weird about the actual executive order is on Section 3E, they have the wall, where they say we're building a wall, but it's in parentheses. And they keep saying, then they later refer to it kind of as a physical barrier.
Well, the
we
reason
already have that in a lot of spots.
I think
they can climb over it.
Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it was like Roy Blunt, maybe earlier this week that
does anything
that I heard on another radio show, a competitor.
Oh shit! Fuck those guys.
So no, but because they know who we are.
No.
No, but here's what was kind of explained as far as that physical barrier goes. There are certain areas on the border that are like 1,500-foot canyons that someone would have to scale. Like they're saying, we don't really need a fence there because if somebody can, probably because if somebody can scale 1,500-foot canyon, you deserve to be in.
Right. Like, you
probably
join one of our sports teams. We'll love you.
Right. New shortstop.
I was a kid in Mexico now, like, all right.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Again, we are not experts, and we do not speak for the American government.
Hey, my name is Hernandez. Okay.
And I know part of the executive order too stated that they would strip funding from sanctuary cities. Add 3,000 ICE agents and thousands of Border Patrol police.
50,000 Border Patrol guards.
15,000?
No, 5,000.
5,000. Okay. And that was met with the resignation of the head of those guys.
Yeah,
well,
they can cry about it if they want.
That's interesting.
Well, the other thing I thought was really interesting in the actual order itself was it says that they were going to build detention facilities near the borders to house illegals, which kind of sounds like detention camps. So it makes me a little nervous.
Yeah,
that's
maybe
some weird wording.
maybe an alarm's going off somewhere. Sorry, I heard that sound effect in my head. They're
they're
there.
not death camps. We totally promise.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting about it too, and while it doesn't totally, here's the thing: this states that legal immigrants charged but not convicted of crimes could also be shipped out. That means that, let's say that you weren't born here. You weren't born in America, but you were here. You've been here since you were a kid. Like, you're more or less an American citizen. You did everything the right way. Don't
Dreamers?
jaywalk.
Yeah. You're talking about the Dreamers where, they're basically American citizens, but not really.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you're getting shipped out because you were charged with a crime. You weren't convicted of a crime. And then you have to kind of question, like, well, how much do we trust the police? Because we're putting a lot of faith in that system then if you can just ship out somebody who was charged with with something without ever having convicted them of that.
And that's messed up. And like I said, there's always overreach in any of these type of executive orders.
Yeah, I think that's a big one.
It can be. If it's used incorrectly, it can definitely be a situation that we don't actually want. But I don't think that the rest of it is determined by just that one bit that probably won't be used.
So basically, what happened though this week between Donald Trump and Mexico was Donald Trump gives a speech talking about how he's going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it.
Just nothing new.
No, nothing new. President Nieto gives a speech and says, look, we're interested in working with the American government, but we're not interested in funding this, and so we'll have to talk about it. To which Donald Trump responds, well, if you're not interested in it, then don't even worry about coming to Washington. Clearly now that you've challenged his national pride, he has to back out, and there's nothing different that you should expect. Like, come on, dude, you played it.
Mexico has been very adamant about we're not paying for the wall.
Right, and
Donald Trump has been adamant that they will pay for the wall.
And they're probably not going to. So his proposal of a 20% tax on Mexican imports,
he might be able to make them pay for the wall.
Probably not gonna happen.
Won't happen. But he might be able to do it.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't have the jurisdiction to even impose that. So,
it would depend. It might have to go through Congress.
It would have to go through Congress. I think there's some loopholes. Yeah. I won't say what I think about that because I have loose facts, but I will post the link below as to where that gets discussed.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, when it comes to Mexico and trying to make them pay for it,
even if you did put a 20% tax on imports, let's be real, the price is going to be paid for by the American consumer that's buying Mexican
on what it
products.
Is. So basically, the main thing that they're sending over is fruit and food, produce, that type of stuff. So, I understand the argument to where they say if you put this tax on it, they're going to either increase their prices or not ship as much over, which will create scarcity, which will then in turn cause the price to go up. So the consumer hitting it. Now, I think that the American people and entrepreneurs need a little bit more credit than that. I think that it's see a need, fill a need. So if we start getting a shortage, I can think of my family. They've got farmland that we're not using. There's a ton of people, especially in Missouri, who's got farmland that it's no longer viable to farm anymore because we can get it cheaper from these other countries. Well, they might start using their farms more, and then it might bring an abundance and prices go down.
Maybe, but I
can't say for sure. But
you also have companies like Monsanto and other GMOs that make that very unattractive too, because you basically become a slave to big.
If all these people actually started organically farming for themselves, we could have a lot of food.
Yeah.
We just don't do it.
Yeah.
And I think that before we didn't need to because, I think strawberries are ridiculous at $5, but I still buy them. So
right. Yeah, no, I get it.
There hasn't been any shortage or anything.
The long story short for me, at least where I kind of fall in the Mexico-Donald Trump relationship, have a better relationship, dude. Because
you saw the joint statement they came out and said, as soon as they did that, they canceled the meeting. And he was like, "Oh, well, I guess we're not gonna meet." The peso plummets. Immediately, he calls back up and he's like, yeah, we need to talk about
Here's
this.
the thing that's important to keep in mind.
America is powerful when we want to be. We can throw our weight around and get things done in our favor.
Here's what we have to consider. Next year is Mexican elections. In 2012,
he won't win re-election, I promise.
No, he won't, and that's very dangerous for us. And here's why: because
Donald Trump will rise up.
In 2012, the runner-up, first of all, President Nieto was elected with only 38% of the vote. The runner-up was Lopez Obrador of the PDR, which is the Party of Democratic Revolution, which you're talking about the Sandinistas. You're talking about Chavez. Like, you can, I'll post a link again to this video where this information comes from, but I'm going to have to agree with Karl Rove when he was talking to Neil Cavuto. I know it's crazy. A liberal.
Crazy. I don't agree with these guys half the time.
Taking Karl Rove's side, but this guy, this Lopez Obrador, he's running again next year. Donald Trump is stirring up your anti-American sentiment, and so you think it's bad now with a pro-America regime running Mexico. If a crazy Chavez-style leftist gets in, like, you're talking about zero trade cooperation, you're talking about zero border cooperation, you're talking about zero drug cooperation. Let's cool the temperature on Mexico a little bit, because it doesn't have to be.
I don't think we need them nearly as much as it's made out to be. I mean, just honestly, I don't think we do. I think they do, because we're buying their things. We have a trade deficit with them. Their economy is doing good. That's another going off on another tangent here with the wall. I don't agree with the wall. I don't agree that immigration is an issue right now.
They're coming for you.
Oh shit. I don't think it's been an issue for a long time. And I think that we're in this weird paradox where people want the wall because they think it's going to help them. But at the same time, the whole reason why they've stopped coming over is because our economy tanked. Mexico's economy has been doing better. We build a wall, hurt the Mexican economy. Won't they come back in?
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked about it last week. There's not a huge immigration problem.
It's a self-defeating concept here, but you know,
it's interesting that we put so much. I think, again, it's the Republican way of making themselves feel warm and fuzzy.
Well, I think it's the American people. I don't think it's just...
We got to put our white American picket fence up on our border.
Yeah, they want that wall. Like, that's been spoken loud and clear. People want the wall.
But when
I personally don't, but
when nothing
get it,
changes other than, like, $4 billion, okay, well, pat yourselves on the back. That was kind of pointless. So I don't know. We don't have a huge problem there. But I think as far as his executive orders on immigration this week, that's pretty much where they stand. So we'll see what he does in week 2 with stuff like that. I know that obviously I'm sure over the next few days we'll find out what the Brooklyn judge and his halting all of this moving forward, what implications there are there. He may wind up missing. Who knows?
Right. They might do that. They might continuously.
They might kill him. They might actually kill him.
Shit. I think they might.
You will not tweet unless I say it's okay.
And if the judges start fighting back, if they start finding ways to shut down his orders, then we're see.
We're doomed.
We'll see. Everything is rigged. We're all doomed.
Oh man, yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Week 2, what immigration brings. I'm sure the conversation will get a lot louder and a lot further apart, but it'll be interesting to see. So.